Is your family tree a mystery? Are you fascinated by genealogy? Well, hip hip hooray, let's talk DNA with Julie.
The truth is in your genes.
In CutOff Genes.
Welcome to CutOff Genes, the podcast that helps you find your truth using nothing but DNA. I'm Julie Dixon Jackson. I'm a genetic genealogist, henceforth known as a Gen Genie.
Gen Genie.
And I have my friend Amy Perkins
Hello.
sitting in with me. What do you have to say, Amy? Wow, that was a loaded question.
I feel put on the spot. I have so much to say.
I know.
But where do I
Always.
start?
Always.
My old friend Jules.
Okay, so Amy is a dear friend who I have been. We could talk forever. You'll understand soon. And I think it's really interesting that we have Amy here because my other friend Amy, you guys all know because she is her part 3 of her story time is in this episode.
It's the Amy Show.
It's the Amy Show. It's Dueling Amy's, which
That's right.
will be the name of the
Is she
podcast.
middle-aged? Because that's the.
She's
it was
a little younger.
interesting. You just don't meet a lot of Amy's now. It's not a used name anymore. But when I was in 1971, there were 3 Amy's born on the floor.
It's funny that you say that because when I was a kid growing up in Australia, Amy was strictly an American name. Only kids on TV that were in America had that name.
Oh.
And so it's very American to me. Aussies will understand what I'm saying about that. But I think it's fortuitous that you guys are both in this because you remind me of each other. I've always said that. In that you both have lived in Texas.
Yes.
You both have lived on the West Coast. I mean, on the East Coast as well.
Yes.
What else? That's all.
Does she have short hair?
Brown
Brown hair?
As short as
Blue
yours.
eyes?
She did. She has brown hair. I think she has brown eyes.
Is she a mama?
She's a mama, but we're very similar with each other, as you and I are.
She's chatty.
She's oh boy, the listeners know she's chatty.
Okay.
Holy crap.
I love her.
Yeah, she's great. And you guys, I can't wait for you to hear the end of this episode. Because this whole conversation with her has been spectacular. And I'm so glad she agreed to do it.
Yeah.
But this is just something that has nothing to do with anything, the
Perfect.
podcast. But so, you know the phrase, never look a gift horse in the mouth?
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
Oh, Lawsy. Never look a gift horse in the mouth. It's like don't be unappreciative for something that's been offered. You did nothing for it.
Yes.
It was handed to you.
Yes.
Just take it.
That is correct.
Good.
Why? Where would that actual phrase have come from? What does that mean? My husband and I talked about this this weekend because he brought it up to me and we both lost our minds. To us, a gift horse is a horse who's carrying a gift in its mouth.
Oh, no, the horse is the gift.
Why aren't you looking in its mouth?
Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Okay, well, I'm going to be honest. When I was younger, if you'd pushed me, I thought it was don't lick a gift horse in the mouth. I'm being serious.
You know what? You shouldn't lick a gift horse, period.
I also thought Al Capone was a woman named Alka my whole childhood. Okay. Why don't you look that dang horse in the mouth? Is it something to do with teeth?
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
So don't care if it has bad teeth because it runs fast.
It was free. It would be rude if somebody said, here's a horse, and you check its teeth. It's like, screw the teeth. The horse
You got
is
a horse.
free. How rude.
Okay, but so I was right about the horse being the gift.
Oh, yes. It's a gift
Y'all
horse.
were wrong.
We knew, we've always known what that means, but we
Right.
couldn't, it never occurred to us that there's no such thing as a gift horse. We had this whole scenario about we're so excited the gift horse is coming to town. And he's carrying gifts in his mouth.
No.
But we can't look him directly in the mouth.
Right, where the gifts
Or
are.
we don't get the gifts. The gift horse
Y'all
is coming.
misunderstood the idiom. Is that what it's called, an idiom?
Yeah. Or a
Right?
colloquialism?
I don't think so.
All right, fine.
I don't think it's a colloquialism.
I'm not real clear on the difference.
Should we look at? Oh gosh, I want to look it up
Yeah,
so
we can
badly.
look it up. You want to look it up?
Well, one of the reasons I love it so much is my mother prides herself on hearing. She's heard every what we call idioms,
And she
not
says them wrong.
colloquialisms.
Did she say them wrong?
Oh gosh, no.
Oh, my mother-in-law does.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
we've talked about that.
Have you met Sharon? She says them right. Sharon wrote
met
them.
Sharon.
And And so whenever I hear an idiom, I write it to her. And if she hasn't heard of it, then I'm like, it's not real. Someone made it up. Because my mother's heard all of them. But do you know one I just recently heard I'd never heard, which now I hear constantly, which I'm sure you will have heard, which I'm embarrassed I hadn't heard. And of course my mother had heard.
Wow, a lot just happened.
Don't like the cut of his jib. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
Right? It was like a year ago I first heard it. Now I hear it constantly.
Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, don't like the look of him.
But let's get specific.
Well, it's a boat.
What is a jib?
It's on a boat. Don't like the cut of his jib.
A jib is a boat? I don't understand
I think it has
boat stuff.
I think the jib, I mean, we look so stupid. I think the jib. Okay, good. I'm a social worker. So I think the jib, it's like, yeah, you pull on like the boat where the sail comes. Hold on. I'm doing colloquialism versus idiom. I think the jib is connected to the sail.
The head bone?
Oh, look, it's a common thing asked on Google, colloquialism versus idiom. Don't you love that when it comes up and it's the first most searched?
You're not the only one that's
an idiot?
No.
Okay, you ready?
Okay.
An idiom is a phrase that holds a certain meaning with only a specific group of people. So these are not idioms. A colloquialism is a word or phrase which is considered informal. Well, I don't feel like either
well, it's
applies.
neither of those things. Then what is it? It's a.
Well, colloquialism includes slang. I think it is. These are idioms then. That's what an idiom means.
So what do they mean by specific group of people though?
Well, they said under the okay, well they're using idioms. Oh, yeah. Like under the weather. So if you learn English and someone says, "Are you under the weather?" If you really think of that literally, you'll think, "What do you mean I'm under the weather?"
Now,
but we all know what that means.
Everything came from. Though.
I know.
Under the weather means under the weather. What specifically does that mean? I need to know them all.
Well, if you're under the weather, you're being impacted by it. Maybe like you're in a rainstorm.
I'm looking it up.
But I don't feel as confident that we call these idioms, but I don't feel that confident that. Okay, are you ready for the jib?
Yes.
See, yeah. It's the triangular staysail set forward of the forwardmost mast. So it's a little triangle sail at the front.
With you don't like.
Because maybe they're cut. Oh, maybe they're cut in unique ways that identify the boats. I'm just kicking out there. So I don't like the cut of his jib.
I don't like the cut of his jib because he uses a different kind of boat than I use.
Not a different kind of boat. They've cut the jib differently, which is the sail. And so you see the boat and say, well, I don't like the cut of that jib. And so it transfers into, I don't like the cut of her jib. She doesn't sit well with me.
Under the weather idiom. So that'll tell me whether or not it's an idiom as well.
Well, it's not a colloquialism.
God, why are my thumbs so fat? Okay. Meaning idiom. Interesting fact. I'll be the judge of that. Not surprisingly, the origin of the idiom under the weather can be traced back to maritime sources.
Oh,
the term we use today has been shortened, though. Originally, the idiom was under the weather bow, which is the side of the ship from which the bad weather is coming.
But why? Why does it have to be on the bow?
Oh, I was thinking it was like an overhang, so if it was raining, you got to stay under it, so you're under the weather.
But I thought you said that was the side of the ship where the weather was approaching.
Yeah, I did say
well, that wouldn't be consistent. I mean, where's your boat?
It depends on
it's on the left. Right. Honestly, we're not sailors. I feel very unprepared for this conversation.
That's the whole point of it.
Okay.
Cut of his jib. Okay, well, we've learned something here.
No, I feel educated.
Oh, good. You know what? That's all we can ask for.
That's it.
Yeah.
Podcast done.
The end. The truth is in your jeans. All right, let's get on with a little bit of business, shall we? This Monday, which is, as you guys are listening to it, either tonight or tomorrow night, if you listen to this on Sunday, tomorrow night. You get it. You know how, calendars
Time
work.
works?
Yeah. CNN has a special called The Baby Business. It's airing September 5th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It's about the business of IVF and all that stuff. But you know what? I'm really not choosing good words. Right?
Well, you're not selling it. I have to be honest, because I thought it was very recently that I was watching something that I don't even think I talked to you about. But it was
I'm sure
it was just about I don't even want to say it. It's so
Say
offensive.
it. No, say it. We talk about
They were
that stuff all
talking
the time
about,
here.
like, just these kids. Oh gosh, it was these
We're
children.
talking about rehoming.
Yes.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot. Yes, the rehoming happens a lot. There have been
Internationally.
several documentaries internationally,
But
nationally.
the U.S. has a huge. I thought the show wasn't in the U.S. Totally engaging in American idealism.
What did you see? Did you see the one where they're like having what looks like
a
fashion
parade
show?
Yes,
Yeah.
I suppose fashion show is more
it's
accurate.
Nauseating.
I'm picturing it as we speak.
Yes.
I regret seeing it.
Yes, and the one kid, we have talked about this actual show before, but the one kid, they focus on this 30-something guy who is single but is looking for a son, and he brings in a teenager.
Yes.
And after 6 months, it didn't work out, so he goes back.
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah, horrifying. The Baby Business, everybody watch it, and we'll talk about it next week. Okay. Reckoning with the Primal Wound, which is a documentary that Rebecca Autumn Sansom has directed and stars in, and her whole family is in, as well as Nancy Verrier, the author. And it is premiering at the Catalina Film Festival in Long Beach, California on Thursday, September 22nd. In Long Beach. Tickets are on sale now. I'm going to be there. Apparently, important people are going to be there. I don't think I'm one of them, but she's actually still using. JDJ is going to be there. So I have this actual calendar, like a planner, like out of paper, like a book that a lot of people don't use anymore. And as I was writing it in my calendar it's Thursday, September 22nd, there was a little notation on the calendar that said first day of autumn. And that's Rebecca Autumn Sansom's birth name. And so I took a picture of it and sent it to her, and she was very excited.
Oh, Julie, that's nice.
Yeah, she thought it was a sign. Anyway, I'm going to be there. If anyone else is going to be there, let me know. We will hook up and party down. Probably not.
I don't know if that sounds that fun.
No.
The party down part. The documentary sounds incredible.
It's so good. I've seen it twice now, and I want everybody to see it. I'm actually bringing my husband, and I'm disguising it as a date so that he...
Oh, I was going to invite myself to go along with you.
You may go along with me.
I know I'm going to go. But no, you take your date. But that sounds...
I may take you, though, if he backs out. Okay. Because that happens,
I'm putting
I would love to have you come.
Oh, I really would like to see it.
It's so good. And it's so many people in the community, or outside of the community, I should say, need to see this.
Can I stop you really quick?
Yeah.
Remember when I told you years ago I did that training? That was the first time I really learned about... I mean, I suppose I'd heard about the Primal Wound, but this woman, I wish I knew who it was, but it was one of the best... You know when you go to a training and you're bored and you're on your phone? I mean, everyone in the room was silent. You could hear a pin drop. Just...
Because it is so shocking to people outside of the whole...
Right.
...industry. I said that. I'm using air quotes. Out of the fog, adoptees who want adoptee reform, adoptees who want people to understand the primal wound and understand adoption trauma, are constantly getting shut down or called out by people that don't understand, people that don't want to understand, people that want to tell you that you're a terrible person. First of all, it's people that don't have platforms, like almost none of them have their own, like they don't talk, they're just there to lurk. They don't have a platform. They don't say, hey, I'm an adoptee and my adoption was great. So, which I'm fine with if they want to do that. It's them coming into our spaces and telling us that we're wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
For expressing your story.
Yes. So I'm going to read a few things that people say to us on a daily basis. It is exhausting. Ink Speckles said, okay, so how does biology matter unless you're some sort of lineage-obsessed, preserve the genes person? Sheesh. Yeah.
What?
So that person is saying biology doesn't matter at all.
So the implication there is then you shouldn't care that you were adopted?
You shouldn't care. They are incapable of putting themselves in your shoes.
Right, but it's also, it's not only denying your story, your experience, your narrative, which is your own to have, it's denying research and biology.
The general narrative that is out there that the general public has heard for years and years and years, and adoptive parents have heard for years and years and years. My parents were told I was a blank slate. Clearly I was not. The general feeling about adoption is that it's all rainbows and sunshine. And
How
it's
lucky. You're so
it's
lucky.
Nothing but yes. You're so lucky they saved you. It's the whole savior complex
Oh, jeez.
complex thing. So then it turns into, well, why should you care? Somebody saved you. How dare you? And I've had experience with this,
Of course,
to an extreme. But so it's triggering to the next level.
Can I also add one other thing,
Yeah.
which I'm sure? Okay, so at the most basic level, doesn't matter. Like when you were adopted, like there's. But can we also talk about people like the JDJ who spent 2 months in a hospital
alone?
So we don't think about that at all. Like that.
No, and also keep in mind, and we get compared to animal adoption on a daily basis.
What?
However, if we're
What is
going to
that?
do
What
that,
do you mean?
They equate dog adoption with human adoption like it's the same thing. Adoption is
I
adoption.
kind of feel like, do you really give these people much credence? Are there a lot of them? That's so idiotic, Jules.
Yeah. But the thing is, okay, if we're going to put that in the argument, one might argue, in fact, I will argue, that animal adoption is more humane than human adoption because you are not allowed to take puppies from their mother until 8 to 12 weeks.
Right.
It is
That's right.
considered cruel.
Right.
However, in the adoption industry, they want that baby away from that mother
Without her even holding.
immediately.
Preferably.
Yes.
You're so right.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this woman said, I always said this. I can't imagine giving 18 years, effort, money to a child only to have them say they want their bio family. Hell no.
Oh, I love that. Too. I've always said this.
Oh, here's an adoptee. We get this a lot with adoptees who are, I say in that fog, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. These are just people who, just because they have not possibly yet manifested a trauma response, some people never do.
Right.
More often than not, you do. More often than not, it's closer to the second half of your life.
Okay.
This person said, by the way, I'm adopted, and yes, my adoption is great. Don't speak for all of us adoptees or adoptive parents, because your experience sucked. Okay, first of all, never do any of us say that our experience sucked.
Right.
We say, I mean, my adoption was fine. My parents, on paper, are perfectly normal, regular people. Don't laugh. They were. I mean, they were good people.
Good people, yes.
Good people.
Normal. I don't know, but what is normal? I mean,
You know what? If I was their biological child, it would have seemed normal because I would have come from them and I wouldn't know you.
now that's interesting.
Because I would have had similar biology to them, so nothing would have felt weird.
But there are people who are raised by their birth families who still feel like I never felt like I fit in. That experience to me isn't unique to adoptees.
Yes, no, it is not unique to adoptees. It's interesting you say that. However, with adoptees, there's an extra level of trauma to that because we know why
That's
we
true.
are that way.
Right.
And
So it's almost affirmed.
yes, that I don't fit in here.
Yep.
As opposed to just feeling like you don't fit in there. Because yes, that does happen in
Right.
biological families.
You're right, but there's an
However,
underlying,
but
you
there
do
is
fit.
mirroring, but you actually do.
Yeah, I
Whereas
see that.
in my case, because we're supposed to be a gummy bear that is malleable and moldable,
Yep.
that we're just going to become like them. And that just does not happen.
Right.
As much as we try to
Yeah.
make it happen.
Right.
And we walk through life feeling like a fraud. If you're adopted and have a caring family, yet you still want to meet with your bio parents, you're being selfish.
What?
Well, you know I've been told that
I know,
to my face before by
but I
people
just-
that I know.
I don't even understand that. And of course, I
It's
guess
selfish. It's selfish. What you are doing in their mind. These people love you. How dare you find
it's
somebody
not
else?
all just about those people either. You don't get to have your own
that's
truth.
the problem. That is the problem. That is why in adoption reform, we want all adoption
To be open.
To be open, but to be child-centered. Every single adoptive parent starts with, I want this. I want a baby that I can raise for my own. And
Yep.
it should never be I.
Yeah.
It has to be about that child and what is best.
What's best for
that
them.
child.
Right.
Yeah, and that may not be you.
Right.
You know. Here's one of my favorites. Adoption is one of my favorite births as a labor and delivery nurse.
Oh, Lozzie.
I just got chills just reading that, because what she is saying is when there is a mother having a child and that she is
And that
about
child
to
is
rip
now-
out of her body,
Right.
and they are literally going to take that, and probably the adoptive parents are right there, sometimes they're in the delivery
Right.
room, which is so unethical to me, and they hand it right off to them. And
does- it
she
kind of
thinks-
feels like a kick in the gut.
And yes, and she says it's one of her favorite things. This poor mother.
Wait, what does she know about the
is in
birth
the
mother?
bed.
May I ask
Nothing.
you that?
She doesn't care. She doesn't
Why?
care about the birth mother. She is happy for the adoptive parents. She is just like all of our mothers in the baby scoop era were told, go home, forget about it. Forget
Right,
it
like
ever
it never
happened.
happened.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to introduce this, then we'll come back and say goodbye.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, guys, you remember my conversation with Amy in her backyard. When last we spoke, she was telling us about her first contact with her biological brother. And that's where we're going to start off.
So I say, and I'm awaiting more info from 23andMe. My world was turned upside down when I heard this news, and I've been in therapy ever since. If it takes a while to hear back, I understand and respect that. I'm open to hearing from you, as I believe you're my half-brother by blood. Knowing medical info is my biggest priority. I'm open to talking on the phone. Let me know. Thanks for your time.
Good. Very well done.
Thank you. Thanks, Mom.
Except for the part about getting it on.
I didn't say that.
Okay, good.
What,
All
to
right,
him.
that's
Okay,
good.
June 29th. That was June 29th. And
All
then
right.
that was at 11:39. And at 3:30 a.m.
Oh.
Now that's my time, so 6:30. So
Yeah,
the
so
next
he was
morning
getting
he's
up
in
for
New
work.
York. So 3
Yeah.
hours later, he writes, wow, I had to stare at this for a while just to get that response. I think I need a couple of days, unless that medical issue is an immediate crisis.
Oh.
But either way, happy to help. And I was so open because I'm like, what a good older brother.
Yes, what a good.
like,
That's
he
that's
wants
very
me
much
to-
like the conversation I had with my half brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's been wonderful.
Who's been
Because I
amazing.
still kind of stalk you guys on social media and see how he's supportive of you.
He's amazing. Yeah.
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 I like him. If he's listening, I like you
Yeah,
a lot.
I do too.
Okay, so basically I said no immediate crisis. Take your time. And then I would say I didn't hear anything at all. I followed up with him in September.
Okay.
So June, July, August, September.
Wow.
3 months later,
Yeah.
I just said, I hope you're well. Just wanted to pass on my cell. I'm grateful you even checked your messages. Drop me a line.
Mm-hmm.
He texted me like 2 days later.
Okay.
And I remember that was actually the week I was having a hysterectomy. And my doctor goes, you should really relax this week. Make it seem like, you're going to have a marathon next week in terms of your body.
Oh my God.
So don't do anything crazy. And I wasn't running a mile, but emotionally,
Yes.
I think I had an ulcer. I think
Yeah.
I threw up on myself 15 times. And he texted me and we ended up talking that week. So we talked a few months after first connecting. My coping mechanism, and we all need one. I believe we all need some.
Yep.
And it should not be wine. Truthfully, I sat in my backyard before it was remodeled, and when there was grass in the yard, and I sat there literally in the soil and grass, and I like grounded myself, which I've learned. I do a lot of gardening, and I've learned that grounding is a coping mechanism where you actually have to connect with like earth, and this is so weird.
So weird that you're saying that.
Do you feel it?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm not.
Well, I talk about that all the time.
Okay.
About having your truth makes you feel grounded, like not like you're floating in the air. You're connecting.
No, I'm
to the
connected.
earth.
And I was like,
Yes.
I don't know what's going to happen to me, but as a human being, I need to be part of this earth right now. And I'm like I'm a part of something right now, even though I don't know what the hell I'm a part of right now because I don't have a family. I do have a family. I had to look up what identity crisis meant because I thought it was just a phrase and I didn't give myself
actually-
enough credit
Yeah.
to having an identity crisis. But I absolutely have had one and I'm still sort of getting through it. And a lot of times just look at myself in the mirror. I fit into my clothes better, all the things, right? And it's all a part of, and then I sit in the ground
Yeah.
when I need to or
Wow.
whatever. So we had a really lovely conversation.
Did you talk?
No, me?
No, I mean on the. I mean, it wasn't text. It was actually
We spoke.
talking on the phone. Okay.
He called and I'm like, hi, you're my brother. And he's like, hi.
Oh, wow.
And he was so nice. And I don't know if I'm truly just grasping for stuff, or if he really, really was like an older brother in my heart.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, he was so brotherly. In fact, at the end, he was like, you know, we don't have to rush through these things. I'm not getting paid by the hour, or I don't get paid by the hour. And I go, I do. And I was like joking, like, I do actually. And I get paid to talk real fast sometimes for disclaimers. He could tell I was anxious. He could tell my nerves. He could, I'm sure, and I'm definitely could feel his. I was so respectful. He actually thanked me for taking the time I did out of respect for his mother.
Mm-hmm. Do you know if Bob knew about you? Is that something that you knew?
No. So
Okay.
according to my mother, he never knew about me.
Okay.
But also, when I put the pieces in the timeline together, she, I believe, was pregnant with me and was still with him. So, but she just said that I was my dad's.
Okay.
So maybe he just was like,
Suspected it.
or that he was just like, this is
Right.
her other husband's because she's married.
Right.
And I want to
Right.
have sex with a large pregnant woman. Like what?
They kept having sex?
Yeah. According from what I understand. Again, that's not my truth. And I will not spread that narrative. I do not know that for a fact. But from what I understand, it happened for a while. And what my dad says is he had to move us to LA to get us away from him.
Oh,
but I don't believe that to be true. I don't know I don't know. I don't know. My mom says that that's not true. But I don't think she faces any of this. Okay, so going forward and not just living in what was and what could have been and what might have been. I was talking to him about I go, well, what are my facts? Like, what are the facts? Who exists? He's like, you have 3 brothers. And I say, what are their heights? Because my daughter's super tall and my husband's shorter than me. And he's like, well, me and one brother, we're both 6'3", and the other one is 6'6".
Wow.
And he reminded me because he texted me.
How tall are you again?
I'm only 5'6", but I have size 9 feet, and my hands are a giant. Like it's
Like 3 times the size.
Yeah, they're size.
There's a whole like phalange,
Knuckle.
like knuckle.
Yeah, my
difference.
actual phalanges are very strange, and my whole life I was so
This
self-conscious.
episode's going to be called phalanges, by the way.
Aren't these phalanges?
Yeah, they are. This
Yeah.
episode, but we've talked about phalanges.
Yes. Well,
repeatedly.
I would have to say, because genetically, I'm sure I'm not alone. Like Charlotte has very long fingers too, and toes. I'm like, I can write with these things. But she actually has the height. Weirdly, this morning, I have not heard from him in months and months and months. And he texted this morning before we were going to be on this
Weird.
talking thing.
Weird.
Talking thing?
This is a talking thing.
And he wrote that he doesn't have it, and it's a mystery in our family. So guess what mystery I want to find out as to where in fact, I will now show you because we're discussing it, and I can send you this picture if you do have, because I'm open. This is my truth, as I keep saying to myself. I asked him, we had that conversation.
Yeah.
Which I can get to those details. We ended up, we had a great conversation. I'll just say it now. We had a great conversation. He told me about the medical truth of his father, that he passed of melanoma. I now have a new pool.
Which is very
purchased,
scary.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just purchased tons of stuff
Yes.
to cover my arms. I already
Yes.
knew that was an issue, but when you actually know that,
Yes.
it's like, okay, very helpful. He also mentioned that my aunt passed of a brain cancer. The other one, he's like, all the things that I was like, okay, this is all good stuff to at least be aware of, talk to the doctor about,
Absolutely.
anything.
Yes.
And he seemed to not question for 1 second why I was asking these things, because he seems to understand that I'm
Weird.
also due this knowledge and
Yeah.
information.
Absolutely.
So we talk about that. He wanted to know my journey to some degree. So he was curious about that in terms of how I knew what my mom was all about, because
Yep.
I'm sure he was curious. And I know other stuff was discussed, but basically it was a really nice just touchstone.
Right.
He said he sometimes works out of LA and that we're going to hopefully at some point see
So
each
you
other.
haven't met yet.
And we have not met in person. However, I wrote him, I would say, when was it? Oh, I wrote him in April of this year. So a few months ago now. And I just basically said, I've learned that therapeutically, it really helps me to see pictures. Now that I know that I have had an identity crisis, that it helps me to see pictures of family members to see where I relate in terms of
Yes.
foundation.
So important. Yeah.
So even though you might not look like someone directly, there are little traits, there's little things, there's stuff.
Yes.
So I had found online, because I do social media stalk the entire family, a picture of my dad's sister, who has in very many ways my face, which in that conversation actually with Scott, he told me, he's like, you actually, now that I found you on LinkedIn, I saw you on LinkedIn, and then I found you on IMDb, and you look like my family.
Okay.
And I started crying, because then I thought about my aunts and uncles who I always wanted to look like.
Yes.
And then had a very open discussion with those aunts and uncles about that. I was like, I always wanted to look like you, but I finally talked to my brother and I look like my aunt and uncle. And they have actually been really, really open, the ones I've spoken to, about that, which is great.
This is on your mom's side?
On my dad's side.
Oh, okay.
So my dad's sisters and brothers have been incredibly open to my situation, which has helped me immensely. And my cousins, who always, because your level of that generation bond, of course, all my cousins over the years were like, what is up with Aunt Edie and Uncle Fred? They're always so much drama, and so, like, they always stress out, right? And now finally with the news, it's like something's settled in them now. It's like, see, get it now? So anyway, so I connected with him. We haven't seen each other in person, but I said to him that I would like some pictures of the family. And I said, it just helps me. And he said, no worries. I'm slammed, but I'll find some pics and shoot them to you. And that was in April.
Yes. And just this morning, he
shot them What is today? Today's July. So April, June, July.
Yeah.
Just today, he sends me out of the blue this beautiful picture of me and my current husband in a few years. Stop it.
God.
So I'm showing you right now a picture of my grandmother, Irene, who I never met, had the joy of meeting, but my biological grandmother and my biological
same face shape.
I have the same face shape, and she's super white like me, and then he looks like my super dark husband, and his name was Charles.
He was Jewish, right? Your
My husband is Jewish, and these two were Jewish. I found the boat that they came over on, their naturalization forms. In fact,
those are your grandparents.
These are my grandparents.
Okay.
And in fact,
these are the first pictures you've seen of your grandparents?
I saw another fuzzy one that the older aunt had sent.
Okay.
But these are the first ones. And I got them this morning, and I'm like, so I showed Matt, and Matt's like, I see me, but I don't see you. I'm like, you're
That's
nuts.
hilarious.
I'm like,
He
you're
sees
nuts.
him.
Yes, of course he sees himself. And then I write to him. I thank him. And he's like, hey, I hope all is well. Sorry this took a while. I'm like, that's Irene and Charles, right? Mind you, my daughter's name is Charlotte.
Right.
So weird. Yeah. So then they send the picture of my Aunt Linda, who's me, but not me, because you have my mom.
Is agape.
Yeah. It's like she has my dark hair, my round
She
face,
has
my
your
eyebrows,
coloring.
my coloring, all this stuff. That's my Aunt Linda, who I never, of course, met as well.
I just got chills.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was like, so she's since passed as well, unfortunately. But all of these things feel so good to my heart, you guys.
Yes.
So then I said to him, my daughter inherited the height. With my husband shorter than me, I'm glad we now
That's
know where
crazy.
it's from. And I said, can you confirm the heights? And he said, yeah, the two of us are 6'3". Your other brother is 6'6". And I go, wait, who is that from? Charles's line or Irene's? And then he says, neither. It's a total mystery.
Oh, no.
You know nothing's a mystery. We know nothing's a mystery. So then
I have to go look at your DNA again.
Damn,
Yes.
Skippy. Because then it says Charles was 5'10", Irene was 5'3", Dad was 6'5" at age 15. What? And I want to find aunts and uncles' draft records and stuff.
Yes.
And I want to see heights.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to see. And I just want to see who on what side. And maybe I can help him solve that problem, because I've seen their family trees, and they don't go back that far. They don't go back as far as mine.
Right.
I have some good info for them.
Yeah. That is so funny that you said that, because when I found you sound like Betty Rebel. When I found not my dad, he was 6'1", and they're coming to take me away.
Ha ha. Ho ho.
He was like 6'1", even though my mother had fudged his height on the papers. She said he was like 5'11".
Interesting.
Yeah.
Those
and
couple
so he
inches
was-
make a difference.
Well, yeah, he
Yeah.
was 6'1", and she was 5'9".
Yeah.
And I was always the smallest kid in my class.
And honestly, like, who knows, right? But that's that's
at the
too
time,
much.
But I could not see any. When I had that side of the family, when I found them, I studied their faces so much, trying to find something similar. And there's one picture of me and not my half brother, where I can almost see the expression. I'm like, there it is. Okay, okay, there it is. And it never occurred to me that it wasn't him.
Yeah.
Even though, and now, of course, having found my family,
Yeah.
my father was 5'6".
Yeah. And now it makes sense.
And my brother's 5'7".
Now here, this all makes sense in terms of us.
Yes.
And I know that I'm from Bob.
Yeah.
But I want to find Bob, and I'm sure that they are Charles's, but am I sure that they are Charles's? But I'm sure that they are, but who above them? And who,
Yeah.
And just wondering where they got the height from. I'm
Yeah,
just
I need to
fascinated
look
because
at this. I need to
Charlotte
look at
truly
that.
is quite tall.
How tall is she now?
She is 5'4", and she's 12.
Okay.
And she has my shoes, size 9 feet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She's
Yeah.
going to, and they had anticipate 5'8" or something. Like, she's not going to be like crazy, but Matt's, he would like to say 5'5", but I would say 5'4.5", comfortably, unless he's wearing the new gift he got from a friend, which he said has, what do they call them?
Platform lifts.
Lifts. He's like, these have lifts, and I was like, no, they don't, honey, they're great. Anyway, okay.
I love a short king.
Yeah.
by the way.
So in terms of that whole thing, there are 2 other brothers. When I did talk with Scott, he mentioned that he had not told the other 2.
So they still don't know?
Now, I don't know, and I could ask him, but I kind of keep wondering, and I really do keep asking myself what information I need to
neither of them
know.
are on social media.
Neither of them. Yeah.
Which tells me people that are not on social media, I feel are. And this is such a judgment call, but everybody I know that's not on social media is hiding from something.
Interesting.
That is. I realize that I'm making an umbrella statement.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
But if you literally have no presence and you're of an age where most people are on social media, I think there's a reason for that.
Well,
I don't know.
listen, if they want to come onto social media or otherwise and find out more secrets and find the answers to more secrets, because like I know their addresses. I mean, you know what research we can find. I know everything. I know their phone numbers I could call, but I kind of want to see Scott and meet him in person and get to understand why he might be hesitating.
He's the conduit, obviously.
Yeah, and I do, like I said, I respect him and his family. So if he's not sharing that with them, I don't need to come bulldozing through, because what is my need for that? Now, I will tell you, I did find a picture of all of them online on Facebook, and I do get a really cool feeling of like the idea that someday I could walk up and be like, "Hi guys," but I don't think that it needs to be. I don't believe that it's going to be a homecoming.
I have 3 brothers too on my paternal side.
Was that nutso for you? Like that, my brain was like, "Wait, what?" And then all of a sudden, I felt
They're all younger than me though, because mine is from before my father's marriage.
right.
Yeah.
And how did you feel about that?
Well, I already had 2 brothers on my mother's side.
Well, because I have a friend
Yeah.
who has been both in our shoes and on the other side. It was both things. And she's like, and because I knew what it was like to not, she's like, I have the hardest time accepting those kids that came after me.
Yeah.
But they better accept me if I came before them or whatever. I'm not saying it
isn't that
right.
interesting?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really interesting because she's like, but there's a jealousy situation in my dad's. And I loved her honesty with me, because I'm like, that's true. It's got to be there. And actually knowing that the oldest, the one I spoke with, was like 15 or 16 when I was born, I'm picturing him dealing with like all of the teenage angst.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with, he's dealing with a dad who's coming in from like in town in New York, coming home and maybe not being as attentive. Maybe he was. Maybe he got him, and then going back and being like, dude, how hypocritical were you? Or maybe not. Maybe he was. I mean, I don't have any idea, but like, I do know that I enjoy being more in a place, and I just truthfully, my brain settles in it, and I'm so much happier being in a place of gratitude for the dads that I did have. And then I do allow myself to cry for the dads that I miss. And lately, because I've been really just choosing my own path almost with defiance in terms of career, joy, life, all choices, I sometimes even say to Bob, who I never met, like, oh my God, I'm gonna cry. Bob, who I never met, I'm like, you're proud of me, right? Like, I'm like killing it, right? Like, I'm finally using my voice, finally, because, and I'm pretty sure I said it before, but I wasn't as firmly in my career and where I am even now a few years later. But the minute that I found out that Fred was not my biological father, all of the times, and he was very good at telling me what I shouldn't do with my life and what I should do that was not what I feel like I should have been. And I wanted to please him so much so, and I don't blame him. I'm sure that he was trying to do the best he could, but I no longer had to please him. And I finally was like, I'm going to the hilt. And I even just started doing this fun little cooking thing only for myself, but I'm so comfortable up there, and I feel like whatever I'm doing is giving back as purpose. That gives back all
You're
the
authentic.
things.
You're being your
it
authentic
feels, but I
self
finally
that-
at 37
yeah.
was able to be so because someone gave me that truth.
Yeah.
And I want that for everybody else. I will say I miss the relationships that I had prior with my stepmother. I really, even though maybe it wasn't real, but I miss that. Whatever. I miss the relationships I had with my siblings that I thought were my siblings because there was a closeness that at least I felt. Now I just don't want to waste my time if they don't want to be in it. I'm kind of like, okay, I'm still in that.
weird.
It's really
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
But I do want Charlotte to have some solid family. We have the most, and I don't lie, like I didn't even like being from LA, but a great community here. But that's been important for my physical and mental health.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
In ways that I can't explain, but that's how I do it. And other people have to find their own thing.
Right.
But that's where I am. And that's where I am. I feel like I'm still in the middle of an identity thing. Crazily, I don't have to be in therapy. I said to my therapist, I'm at Kaiser, they do a test every time you start. Okay. And I actually like it.
I did that.
I love it. And I
Okay.
don't mind it. And it's like, no, I'm not going to kill someone this week. No, I'm on this gauge.
I refused to fill it out every time when I was with Kaiser. I was like, for God's sake, it's been a week. How can
love
I
it.
be better?
No, I did it every time, and I loved it. And I'd go in there and I'd be, can I see how it looks? How's it looking? How's it looking? We go up and down. We go up and down. And we realized actually through the years that, very interestingly, there were months where at the same time, every time I'd go up and down, like almost like your body goes through cycles of things.
Oh,
It was
weird.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'd be like, oh, and I know I'm going to get through this, and I know I'm going to do that. I could tell based on these when I did have to adjust a little bit of my meds because it was over time. It was really, really interesting.
Okay.
I've been in such a good place, actually, even dealing with friends who have been going through a lot and knowing my own boundaries. We're all still works in progress, my God, and I still lose my mind all the time. You can ask my family, but I feel in terms of everyday living and coping, I feel like I'm in a better place and happier just in because shit's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Is my point. So how are you gonna cope with it?
Yep. Yeah.
And how are you going to keep living is my point. And so, yeah, it feels good. So she said, I'm there. I go, if my brother shows up on my front doorstep, I'm finding you. And what about bobbing you to my therapist? I'm like, I'm going to show up. Like, remember that movie?
Yeah.
Where like the Richard Dreyfuss is like,
Yeah.
like whatever, stalked. I'm like, I will stalk you to find you if my brother shows up on my doorstep. But for now, I'm good.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And I'm in a good place.
Yeah.
So she's there if I need her. Yeah.
Going back to you've seen pictures of your father.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have pictures. Does anybody have any videotape? Have you asked?
I haven't asked, but that's going to be next.
You should ask because
Okay.
my brother has video. I have videotape of
Oh my God,
father.
me just thinking of asking
Yes.
made my heart race.
Really?
But I especially need it because of now, of course, and I need you in my life
Yeah.
to say this.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm so open because I don't think of some of the things, and I even say that to my friends. I'm like, if you notice something that's going on here, that I don't notice, even about my behavior, like can you just give me a heads up? Because I don't know, we're all human, we're figuring it out, right? But especially since I do stuff for the camera and for the microphone and I'm a storyteller,
Yeah.
it'd be really fun to see kind of him in action in any way, even just walking. I was hoping to find him in some baseball or basketball footage somewhere based on his
Yeah.
number on
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
but like I'll ask
Yeah,
him.
I'm sure there's got to be family video.
I'm so tentative, and maybe that's why I'm hoping to see him in person so he can see that
That
my
you're okay.
hesitation
Yes.
is that I'm going to hold this with such respect and regard, but I also want for my daughter to know kind of what her grandfather was like and where she gets her tallness from and maybe some of her pizzazz, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, my brother I went back when it first happened. He sent me a bunch of stuff and I watched it,
incredible.
but then I forgot about it and I was so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And then I went back recently and I was like, "Oh my God, I have this video of my father graduating from college in his 70s.
So sweet. I think I've seen
and
the
talking-
picture at least where he has his hand up.
That's
like
my
that.
favorite
It's the
picture of all time.
sweetest. It's the
I love that
sweetest.
picture. Yeah, and there's other ones of he and my brother taking doing walkabouts. They would hike all the time.
Yeah.
And there's one of my father making bush tea.
What is bush tea?
Bush tea is Australian tea that you make in the bush.
Yeah.
And you get a bucket of hot water and you put tea leaves in it,
Yeah.
and then you swing it around your
Stop
head.
it. That is the coolest thing
And
ever.
I saw him doing that, and all of these memories came flooding back from a kid, because that was something I knew as a kid, but I'd forgotten about. 'Cause
course.
it's very Australian.
Oh, I'm still looking this up now.
Yeah, bush tea.
Well, can you make
bush
it in
tea.
person?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be very good.
Will you come and make it on my thing?
Oh, okay, I'll make bush tea on your cooking show.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not kidding. That's what I want to do.
That's
I want it to be
hilarious.
fun. I want it
Bush
whatever.
tea.
And thank you.
I got to find that. I've got to find
But
that.
this is, I'm just saying, because I feel like you're going to pass on him and that memory of something he obviously enjoyed very much.
Oh, he loved the outdoors, and he loved trees.
For me at least, is like my dad loved Cincinnati chili. He made his own version. I love the family that makes it. My grandfather made it, and this is my birth certificate grandfather, but that's in my heart. So I'm going to make it on the show. I'm going to hopefully pass it along. You know, I want to find out, the more I can find out about the Silver family in my own right, I'd like to pass along, because I feel that connection. You know, when I was staying with my mother, I was making latkes over with my husband over with Matt over over Hanukkah, and I've loved learning how to do it, and I never grew up with that. And I was saying, I bet you my aunt, you're up there watching them doing it right. And I was like, it's in the DNA, Mom. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I go, I have a different father. Like, I literally have to say this to him, like her, and like, this is stuff, again, I have to face, but the more almost like defiantly that I just speak my own truth.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. I'm not saying it with any meanness. But it's really healthy to own who you are. And I just wish that truth for kind of like really any human being on earth, truthfully.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I adore you and thank you. And if I have anything more, I'll let you know, but I don't think that's it. I think you summed it up.
Okay, everyone, we're back. Amy, not you, Amy. Amy Ulrich, I love you so much. Thank you for doing this. Amy Perkins,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to talk about Amy Ulrich's DNA, because with what we just talked about in that, I'm going to talk about it next week. But I do today want to say that when I talked about my father making bush tea and Amy invited me on her cooking show to make bush tea, it's actually Billy tea that's made in the bush.
And there's a Billy Bush.
Oh my God.
I know.
Oh my God.
I mean, a terrible human
My
being.
head just exploded.
That's why you confused it. Just saying.
No, because in Australia,
The
going
bush.
for a walk is a bushwalk.
Of course.
You're going for, and you make Billy tea. So a Billy is like a can with a handle, and that what used to be called swagman, I think. Yeah,
It's called a Billy?
it's called a Billy, and
That's
you
just
carry-
known.
Yes,
It's
they
a
would carry-
colloquialism, if you will.
All Australians know what a Billy is, and you carry it on your backpack. It like hangs from your backpack, and you cook things and you heat your water over the fire. And then, so you heat the water if you're making tea. If you're making Billy tea, you heat the water. You drop in like 3 large things, tablespoons or whatever, of tea, of loose leaf tea. And then you swing it around your head to make the tea leaves go to the bottom. So that when you pour it. Hey, look for me at cutoffjeans.com, everyone. Find me on the socials. Join the Facebook group if you've not done it already. Go
The
to
22nd,
cutoffjeans.com.
come see you.
The 22nd, come to Long Beach if you're in California and see Reckoning with the Primal Wound. I will be there. And Rich will be back next week. And until then, the truth is in your jeans.